Hey guys, what's up? Coach _ Morello, all social media here, also known as Fat Lightning. At this time of year, normally we're starting our freestyle and Greco-Roman practices. One of the first things that we like to do is talk about the rules. Every year we get a new crop of kids trying it for the first time, and B, it's been 8 or 9 months, so sometimes we forget stuff. So let's talk first about what the basic idea is. So the basic idea is to take Kale down and to pin him, okay? But there's some other scoring things here. The basic premise of international style wrestling is to briefly expose my opponent's back to accumulate points. So, for example, Kale, just lay down on your belly. Turn this way. Turn face that way, all right? So, when we wrestle folk style, I have to turn Kale and I have to get a 2 swipe or a 5 swipe to get points. Not so in freestyle wrestling or Greco. For any exposure, I get 2 points from the ground, and if I do the exact same thing from our feet, we get 4 points. Those are the basic principles. Just like in folk style wrestling, we get 2 points for a takedown. And then there's some other opportunities to score too. If you see that we're in a circle here, if I wrestle Kale out of bounds, then I will get an additional point for what's called a step out. So if we're wrestling here and I get Kale to step out, boom, that's 1 point, okay? It's important that we distinguish between a step out and a push, because a push out is illegal. So if we're wrestling and I go here and straight arm Kale out of bounds, not only is that not going to be a point for me, but the referee may give me an attention, which is a warning, or he may give me a caution and give Kale 1 or 2 points for my, what we call negative wrestling. Okay, so here are the basic scoring principles. Let's go through them. Number 1 is a takedown. So we know what a regular takedown is. I hit a double leg, Kale goes to the mat, boom, 2 points. Variation. In folk style wrestling, quad pod Kale. In folk style wrestling, if I hit a pit drag here and I get behind, in folk style, his hand's on the mat, that's a 2-point takedown. Not so in freestyle and Greco wrestling. If I do the exact same exchange, I haven't scored yet. Boom, I'm here, Kale's in what's called a defensive quad pod position. He can avoid getting taken down until the referee brings us back up, similar to a stalemate, if he can just maintain this position. If Kale's head or his elbow or his shoulder or his knee or his hip touch the mat, then I'll get my takedown. So a lot of times we'll get to this position, and then this wrestler's working hard to circle his hips away to avoid getting taken down. My job in the meantime is to find some way to get this thing down. As we go through the series, as we get through the season, hopefully we'll be in the wrestling room soon together, we can talk more about that. But that's a basic premise. Next premise is the idea of feet to back. So if Kale and I are wrestling neutral, if I score a takedown, that's 2 points. If I score a takedown that exposes his back from his feet, or rather from my feet, then it will be 4 points. So if we're wrestling here and I get a double leg, we're neutral. If I run this down in a way that exposes Kale from the neutral position, here, boom, that's 4 points. I don't have to hold him on his back, I just have to expose him. Similarly, I can score a 4-point takedown from a defensive position. If Kale shoots a high crotch, and I get a crotch lock, okay? If I get a crotch lock here, and I defend, and I put my knee down here, and I wrestle him through here, this would be a defensive score, 2 points. If I can reestablish that we are on our feet, here, I drop, I lift, and I clear Kale's body from the mat, where we are now neutral, and his feet are the length from the mat as they would be if he were standing, and I do the exact same crotch throw, boom, I may be awarded the full 4 for that. Okay, so basically everything is in chunks of 1, 2, or 4. Moving on to the mat, if Kale's on bottom, Coach Zach taught you a leg lace. Score here. If I lace Kale, boom, here, I get a nice lace, 1 turn, 2 points. I can continue with a leg lace or a gut wrench for as long as I'd like to. If Kale keeps turning, I keep scoring. So I can accumulate. Coach Gauthier always says, if we get a leg lace, we end the match. So if I get this lace here, we're going to talk about the skills for this. If I get this lace here, and I turn 1, I keep wrestling, I keep driving, I keep chugging. The idea is that I should be able to walk Kale basically in a circle until I've accumulated enough points where the scoring differential is 10. 10 points for a tech fall in freestyle wrestling. I believe this year it's 8 for Greco. Okay? Once again, 2 points from the mat. If Kale reverses me, if I try to do a gut wrench and I do it poorly, boom, and Kale steps me, boom, right there, and reverses, that is 1 point for a reversal from bottom. Okay? If Kale reverses me and holds me to my back, pull the arm under, right, when we're driving. Pull this one under. Kale traps my arm, steps me, and holds me to my back, and we freeze in this position, and it's called in danger. Kale just got 2 points for a reversal with danger. Okay? Let's go. That's the next thing I want to talk about. So we've got 2 points for a takedown. We've got 2 points for an exposure from the mat. We've got 4 points exposure from feet. We talked about the step out. Now let's talk about the big evil shot clock, the passivity rules. So, if we're wrestling folk style, the referee is not necessarily paying attention to the center circle. The referee is looking to see who's wrestling harder, basically. So if we're wrestling folk style, even if I'm on the outside here, if I'm shooting like crazy, there, it looks like, unfortunately, to a folk style referee, it looks like Kale is the one stalling. Freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling are different. It's more of a game of king of the castle, king of the hill. So the idea is, and if you can see the circle here, the idea is to maintain control of the center of the mat. So if Kale and I are wrestling, it's really important, and this is going to be one of our drill units, it's really important that I work on keeping my butt to the middle of the mat at all times. So if Kale and I are hand fighting, and I'm controlling the center, even if he's shooting like crazy and doing everything he can to get in on a shot, there is a likelihood that Kale, and not me, is going to get called for passive wrestling because I'm controlling the center. Why did they do that? Well, because the Europeans don't shoot a lot and they are masters of hand fighting, and so their definition of control of the match, and a lot of the countries around the world's definition of control of the match isn't who's shooting the most, it's who's controlling the center circle. The way a passive call works is the referee will first call us and give Kale an attention. He'll say whistle, pick it up, and then he'll warn him. The whistle will blow again. If we go back to the same spot and I get the center control again, they will call Kale once again for passive, and he'll get put on something called the 30-second shot clock. What does that mean? That means that after within that 30-second window, somebody needs to score. That's what freestyle wrestling in particular is about. It's about creating scoring opportunities, taking risks. If Kale or me don't score in that 30 seconds, the referee is going to give me 1 point. That's not a stoppage call. So the referee is going to award the point, and we're going to keep wrestling. Why is that important? It's important that you know that in freestyle wrestling, this is more of a coaching point, we score in chunks of 2 and 4 points. So if the referee's putting one of us on the clock, it's probably because the match is 0-0 and he's gotten bored. So he's going to start calling passive to create some scoring chances to open everybody up. It isn't a big deal to give up 1 passive point because hopefully you're going to score a heck of a lot more points than that in the match. So we always tell our wrestlers, don't worry about the clock, don't worry about the ref, don't worry about the passive calls because we're going to score again on the back end. The next concept is called negative wrestling. So there's passivity, which is a minor infraction. The risk is 1 point. And then there's negative wrestling, which is a way different thing. You guys have heard about fleeing the mat in folk style wrestling. We can get called for negative wrestling for fleeing the mat, fleeing the hold, push-outs, shoving, things like that, that they have deemed are just the improper way to wrestle. So, if for example, Kale's in on a sweep single, okay? And here's the out of bounds line. Here's the out of bounds line. And instead of coming back and wrestling Kale here defensively, I turn and I try to bunny hop or wheelbarrow hop out this way. I've now fled the hold or fled the mat. At that point, the referee may warn me, but he doesn't have to. If he doesn't warn me, he's going to call caution. He may award 2 points, so 1 point in freestyle, 2 points in Greco. He'll go caution, 1 point, and then I immediately have to go down. He'll go parterre, and we start here. This is the freestyle equivalent to referee's position. As you can see, when we get loaded up in our folk style referee's position, we set up back here with our weight all the way back. We want to be able to wrestle. In freestyle wrestling, we're going to do what's called set a table. The other thing we're trying to do is get our bodies as close to the mat as possible. Because unlike in folk style wrestling, in a freestyle match, when the whistle blows, I'm trying to get flat. And I'm trying to give Kale as little space as possible to work. Kale, standing from a position of the left, right, or behind, is going to take his 2 hands. I think the technical rule is your thumbs have to touch, but some guys are just kind of doing this. The referee is going to blow the whistle, not when he says it's time to blow the whistle. The referee is going to blow the whistle once Kale touches me. Boom, there's your whistle, and we're wrestling. Now, how long will we be wrestling for in this position? The answer to that question is for as long as the referee determines is enough time. So if Kale's just laying there, looking up at the referee is going to bring us up more quickly. But if Kale's working and he's got something going, look at that, he's got a lace cooking, the referee is under no circumstances going to blow this whistle because the top man is trying to score. And he's going to give the top man every opportunity to try to get exposure points. So the coaching point in here is when we're on bottom, don't look at the referee like this. A, because you're not going to get the call, and B, because you'll turn the referee off for the rest of the tournament. Kale's going to get probably 2 shots. So what I mean by that is if Kale gets a lace going and I get out of it and then Kale comes back down, the referee's going to give Kale a chance now to work on this gut before he brings us back up. So 10 seconds is not the rule, despite what you may have heard. The rule is a reasonable amount of time for the top man to get a scoring chance. And then eventually, if I burn this gut wrench out, boom, the referee will signal the whistle and we'll come back up to our feet. What else do we have? Just crash course in rules. There are pins, just like in folk style wrestling. I secure Kale's shoulder blades, the same pin zone to the mat, and the match is over. If I hit a grand amplitude throw, meaning a back arch throw over my head, and I can secure Kale in a position of danger, meaning his shoulders touch the mat for any period of time, the referee can call 5 points and an automatic fall. That's what they call the touch fall. We are about 3 months away from even talking about something like that. The other concept is the match length. So in a folk style match, 2-2-2, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. Referee flips the coin. We keep wrestling. In a freestyle match and a Greco match, for all age groups up to juniors, which is basically your high school sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So cadet down is 2 2-minute periods with a 30-second break in between. So we're going to wrestle. First 2 minutes is over. Referee sends us to our corners to get a sip of water and to get toweled down so that we're not sweaty messes. Sends us back out and we wrestle a second period. I believe maybe in the lower age groups the periods might be 1:30, but in any event there's 2 of them and they all have a break. So at this time I'm going to take a break and then I'm going to come back and we're going to do some basic skills. Hey guys, so for the next part of this session I wanted to talk about some of the basic and really important skills that we like to do here at the club, incorporated into every international practice. The first skill that we work on is the arch from the mat, and we spend a block of time every single practice perfecting this arch. Why? Because particularly in the beginning of this season, when we first start training our international styles, we have to unravel some of the folk style. And a lot of folk style wrestling is tight. And we spend a lot of time in here fighting, in here hand fighting. Even on the mat, everything is a pull and tight. We have to open our core up a little bit for freestyle. And has nothing to do with these big high amplitude arch throws. It has to do with the way that we wrestle on the mat. And it has to do with the way that we execute our defensive throws, and most importantly, our guts and our laces, because that is the biggest difference between folk style and international wrestling is the gut drive, okay? And that requires us to take this compressed core and to open it, and it requires additional flexibility and use of muscles that we don't usually use. So, what I like to do in the beginning of the season, because I am old and fat, is I like to get myself on a ball and remember that my back needs to open up into an arch position, because we do some back bridges during folk style season, but it's usually because we gave up too many pins in the dual meet the night before and the whole team's in trouble. We're not actually working on the skill of the arch there. What I like to do is I like to get onto an exercise ball, and I just like to hang on it for a little while. I open my ribs up, I open my diaphragm, I bring my head to the mat. When I bring my head to the mat, I work on getting on my toes, my heels off the mat, and getting onto my toes. And I like to roll my back out in this arch position just to remind my spine that it will do this. And this stretch here, you'll find, you'll feel it in the discs of your spine. If you're a little bit older, if you're a little kid, you don't really have discs in your spine, you just have elastic, so you might not even need to do this, but I can assure you that most of the high school guys are going to need this skill, especially the bigger ones. So we get on this ball and we just roll back and forth. You'll feel the different muscles of your back stretching. You'll feel the discs in your spine start to kind of loosen up for you, and you'll find that you get a little bit more comfortable in this position. This is kind of a part of your at-home stuff that you could do even during the season, especially after a day of wrestling. All right? The big important drill that we do is just arch reps. And you watched, you may or may not have seen Coach Zach's video already, where Coach Zach showed a really nice leg lace. And a leg lace and a gut wrench have the same arch to them. And that's an important distinction, because some guys will do guts and leg laces, and it'll look like this, and that is poor technique. For every arch from the mat, there are two principles. There are several principles. Number one is the knee shovel. What the knee shovel is I'm giving my hip up to either secure my opponent on my shelf or in my pocket to do my gut, or I'm doing it to secure his inside hip to get to my lace. Immediately I bring my heels to my body because I'm loading up. And you'll notice, guys, this looks a lot like a tilt, right? The gut wrench and the leg lace gut drive are the tilt. And you'll find that if you do a full season of international wrestling and you get good at these skills, it makes your tilt game that much easier. So our arch is heels up, feet under butt. You'll notice when I come here, look, it's just, the difference between a lace and a gut is just my hands. Here's leg lace. Here's gut wrench, right? The same movement. When I move into my arch, my shoulder drops, my feet come under more. I'm digging, and I'm always bringing my heels under my butt. That's the dig. Forward, I'm moving north and south. Actually, I'm moving 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock. My feet come under butt. When I'm ready to pop through, it's because I've elevated his hips. I transition this foot, my drag foot, comes under. I pop my hips as high as I can get them. And I pass, this is my butterfly grip for my gut wrench, I pass my grip in front of my eyes, not over my face. So we're here, drive, 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 under, under. I arch, up, here. My grip passes in front of my face, not over my head. It passes in front of my eyes. I step through, kick over, and then I quarter turn out. Boom. so that we can do this in a controlled fashion. We always practice static arches first, just to loosen up. Here's my gut wrench grip, my butterfly elbows in, heels under butt, and we rep this out, just like this. And you'll find in the beginning of the season, in the middle of the season, and right before your respective duels and before Fargo, that's an important skill. Because the better you get at the arch movements, the more points you're going to score. All right, we're back. Kale farted, so we had to take a rest here. Now we can go back to our exercise. So what I like to do is, for every practice, we like to get about 20 of these in our static fashion. So at home on your own, get your heels under your butt, and let's rep these out. 1, 2, 3, from the mat. 4, from the mat, heels under. 5, from the mat. Every rep, secure your heels under your butt, and then arch all the way up to your toes. Get your weenie as high as you can. Get your hips as high as they'll go. Build as much space here as possible. And you want to start with about 20 of those. All right, then one of our other central drills that we like to do is, again, on our own. This is stuff that we do in the wrestling room, and we don't do it with a partner even here in practice, is we'll do left-right gut drives. Now, the important concepts are this, just as we talked about. I'm driving forward to 11 and 1 o'clock. Right shoulder's 1 o'clock, left shoulder's 11 o'clock. I'm driving and I'm bringing my heels up under my body. And then when I arch, I'm arching so that I clear him through to his body. And then I'm going to quarter turn out. And that's really important because if I don't the quarter turning out, it's almost a half a turn, where I'm going to be facing the opposite direction, make sure that I finish all my turns on top. If I just arch through here and then I stop, we're at a high-risk position at the back end because his body's over here. He can post up and come wrestle back at me. So when we do our arch drive, here, boom, 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 heels under, clear, I step and I turn out to make sure that I finish on top. Now the drill is this. Guys, what we'll normally do, and you can do at home, is I'll get my butterfly grip. I'll start right here, and coach will call out left and right. So usually we'll do, I'm teaching you about what the practice looks like. You still have to come when we start again. Usually we'll do 10, 10, and then I'll start mixing them up. So I'll do 10 right, 10 left, and then I'll start mixing them up left and right. Why do we do that? Because you need to get the repetition on both sides. A lot of people prefer their right shoulder, so that's usually a little bit easier. When we start throwing in left shoulder drives, because you're not used to tilting on this side, some guys have a little bit more trouble getting the left shoulder drive down because they're not used to dragging and driving their feet. And then when we arch over this way, it's a little bit different. So we have to make sure that we get proficient on both sides, because if we can only score one way, it's hard to get turns against good opponents. So what you want to take yourself through is about 10 right side guts, 10 left side guts. Then you want to take yourself through another 10 or so of alternating sides, left, right, left, right.
What's up, guys? It's Morello here, and make sure you like and subscribe and we just ended our video. Bye.